So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 12th chapter, 4th verse. Sanagam cha sanandam cha sanatanam sanadhanam adhatma bhu sanat kumaram cha munin nishkriyan urdhavare dasaha. Sanagam cha sanandam cha sanadhanam adhatma bhu sanat kumaram cha munin nishkriyan urdhavare dasaha. Sanagam cha sanandam cha sanadhanam adhatma bhu sanat kumaram cha munin nishkriyan urdhavare dasaha. Word by word meaning. Sanagam, sanaga, cha also, sanandam, sananda, cha and sanadhanam, sanadhana, adha thereafter, atmabhu, Brahma, who is self-born, Sanat Kumaram, Sanat Kumara, cha also, Munin, the great sages, Nishkriya, free from all fruitive action, Urdhvaretasaha, those whose semen flows upwards. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. In the beginning, Brahma created 4 great sages named Sanaka, Sananda, Sanatana and Sanat Kumara. All of them were unwilling to adopt materialistic activities because they were highly elevated due to their semens flowing upwards. Perfect. Although Brahma created the principles of nescience as a matter of necessity for those living entities who were destined to ignorance by the will of the Lord, he was not satisfied in performing such a thankless task. He therefore created 4 principles of knowledge: Sankhya, or empirical philosophy for the analytical study of material conditions; Yoga, or mysticism, for liberation of the pure soul from the material bondage; Vairagya, the acceptance of complete detachment from material enjoyment in life to elevate oneself to the highest spiritual understanding; and Tapas, or the various kinds of voluntary austerities performed for spiritual perfection. Brahma created the 4 great sages, Sanaka, Sananda, Sanatana and Sanat, to entrust them with these 4 principles of spiritual advancement, and they inaugurated their own spiritual party or sampradaya known as the Kumara Sampradaya, or later on as the Nimbarka Sampradaya for the advancement of bhakti. All of these great sages became great devotees, for without devotional service to the personality of Godhead, one cannot achieve success in any activity of spiritual value. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilidam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stabidam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadam Dadadi Sapadandigam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yudabadagamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajadam Sahagana Raghunathanidam Tam Sajivam Sadhvaidam Savadudam Parijana Sahidam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalidam Shri Vishakhanidamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpade Govesha Gopika Kanda Radha Kanda Namostude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarupasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Sahana Bhavadu Sahanau Bhunaktum Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinamadidastu Ma Vidurshavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you so much for joining on this morning Bhagavatam class. Ashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. This is the only way that we can eradicate all our abhadras, impurities from our heart. Also auspicious days and the holidays coming. So we are all here to hear from Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you so much. So we were going through the 12th chapter, which is titled as Creation of Kumaras and Others. Last chapter, we were going through the details of the creation of time from the atom and the Kala Shakti, how the Lord's form as Kala manifesting in various planes, planets and the living entities, how it affects. We saw in great detail. Now, the creations of Brahma and the various other great personalities like Kumaras, Narada and the great sages, all is actually described in this chapter. So beginning of this chapter, Sage Maitreya is explaining to Mahatma Vidura that how the great personalities, the creations of Kumaras and the great personalities manifested. So just before this is the beginning of the Brahma. So Brahma started to create. So Brahma created first the nescience, which is needed for the living entities in order to fulfill the desires of the living entities. Lord created five aspects of the material, five material aspects that the living entities can engage their own activities in that realm. So Lord Brahma created these five factors, which is mentioned in the second verse, that Brahma created the Andatamisra. Andatamisra is considered as the sense of death. Yes, living entities, there is a sense of death because of they are separated, have a separated desire from the Lord. So they are into this temporary material world, and definitely there is a death. So there is a sense of death which created by Brahma in the beginning. Then it is known as the Tamisram. Tamisram is also known as the anger from frustration. Even if we go further into the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we could see that there are 28 hellish planets. And it's also named two of this. There is a two hellish planets known as Antatamisram and Tamisram. So here, the Tamisram means anger from the frustration. So we all have the anger which is created by the Brahma. It is there. So as soon as our desires are not fulfilled, the anger is there. So in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 62 and 63rd verse, Krishna telling to Arjuna, the anger arises from while contemplating the object of senses. So this is the nature of the material world, dear devotees. Brahma created all these science for that living entities enact, play their role, their independence in this material world in such a way that they can get angry and illusion, envy and greed and lust and pride. So many anarthas, which is considered as anarthas for the living entities. So Brahma created this, and there is also Maha Moha. So the false sense proprietorship. Maha Moha means false sense proprietorship. I, me, myself, mine, I am the Lord. I need to load it over everything in this material world so that I can enjoy. I can satisfy my own way. And this is Mahamoha. We take everything as our own, forgetting that there is a creator, there's a proprietor for everything. So this is known as Mahamoha. Then there is another aspect of Brahma created is known as Moha, the illusion or the illusionary bodily concepts. Illusory bodily concepts. So we all, everything mix our bodily conception with this world and with everything. We think that beyond this body there is nothing. So this is called illusion, which is Maya. Maya means that which is not. But we are completely illusioned by this potency of this creation of the Brahma, and then we completely deluded by this illusory potency. So the reason which is created and so that the living entity can be forgetful on their own world, and so that they can live and get this temporary material pleasure. That's why Brahma is created. And then on top of this, Lord Brahma also created this tamasa. Tamasa means darkness of ignorance. See? So the living entities being infused with all this, so that they can play, they can enact with their own free will and free choice and independence, and so that they can enjoy. This is what is the living entity wanted originally. When they separate from the Lord, when the living entities become rebellion from the Lord. So then further, when Brahma saw this is being created, Brahma realized that Brahma was not satisfied. Like that, Vyasadeva was compiled all the Puranas, all the literatures, and finally, Vyasadeva was not satisfied with the compilation of all the other Puranas and Itihas and other things. Then Vyasadeva was very much disappointed or dissatisfied and despondent, not feeling that satisfaction of that I did some good things. So that's the time Narada appeared and instructed to write the glories of the Supreme Lord. So Vyasadeva then compiled Srimad Bhagavatam. So like that, Brahma was not satisfied with this. The reason for Brahma was not satisfied, Brahma see that the living entities are going to indulge in all this and they will be all fall down from their original position. They will all fall down from their original position and they are affected. They are going to affect by this Mahamoha, the illusion, the tamasa and the darkness of ignorance, and there is no chance. So then Brahma was, not satisfied, and Brahma thought of, and Brahma prayed to the Supreme Lord. This is the third verse. Brahma then prayed to the Supreme and meditated upon the Supreme Lord, and then Brahma started another term of creation. That's what is here, today's verse, Brahma, then another term of creation, so that the living entities can realize their original identity by the process of, and living entities can understand what their knowledge, and that knowledge, utilize that knowledge so that living entities can come out from the clutches of this illusion and darkness of ignorance, and they can understand their real identity and engage into the process of liberation, process of salvation, so that they can not be miserable in this material world again. So this is where Brahma started to create another four important aspects of the key principles of the knowledge. So Brahma created first the Sankhya. The Sankhya is empirical philosophy for the analytical study of material conditions. So we know that whenever we hear the Sankhya philosophy from the Bhagavatam, it is Lord Kapila instructing, and Lord Kapila is the original father of this Sankhya philosophy. So in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, also named as Sankhya Yoga, Sankhya. So this is the analytical study of the material conditions of the life. And we all understood and we all learned that the analytical study of the material elements. And we know that there are, Srimad Bhagavatam explains, there are 24 great principles or Mahatattva. Out of the 24 great principles, Mahatattva, there is gross elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether. There is then subtle elements or Sushma Sharir, mind, intelligence, and ego. Then the senses, and then the sense perceptions and the working senses, and then including this 15 sense, various sense perceptions and working senses and sense objects, eyes, ears, tongue, skin, and the nostrils, and then sense objects, right? Sense perceptions, then working senses. All these included these 23 elements, and then Lord also add the time factor to that 24. That's a Kala Shakti, and that's what is we were seeing in the 11th chapter of this in this canto. So these are known as Sankhya, so that we understand what is this material world, how this is constituted, how this is constructed, what are the ingredients, how this is all been existing and where it's come from. So this is Sankhya philosophy. So Brahma created this knowledge aspects of Sankhya or analytical study of the material conditions. Then Brahma created the yoga. Yoga means mysticism for liberation of the pure soul from the material bondage. Yoga, in the typical term, is known as union with the Supreme. So, in order to understand and realize our original position and from the Sankhya philosophy, then as soon as we understand that knowledge, we have that knowledge, the next thing is actually to unite, to union, to attach with the Supreme Lord. We have to attach ourselves to the Supreme Lord. That is called yoga, and there is a system which is the knowledge of that system which is described, which is explained by the Brahma, which is created by the Brahma. So in the Patanjali Yoga Sutram, the yoga is considered as to unite, to link with the Supreme, and there are certain processes mentioned. And this knowledge aspects is actually summum bonum of all our the how to approach the Supreme, how to engage ourselves in the Supreme, and what is the real knowledge. This Jnana Shakti, this knowledge, and Brahma is created different aspects of this knowledge, potency knowledge, so that all the living entities can understand the reality. Otherwise, we are into the illusion, we are in the Mahamoha, sense of proprietorship, and all this, that we will be completely swayed away into those illusionary aspect of this world. Then Sankhya philosophy, as we all know that there is Yama and Niyama, then there is Prana Asana, then there is Pranayama, there is Pratyahara, then there is Dharana, then Dhyana, Dharana, and Samadhi, right? So Yama and Niyamas are which are the don'ts and the do's and the don'ts, and especially in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, Srila Prabhupada established these principles of this, four regulative principles. This comes under the do's and the don'ts. Don'ts. That means, four regulative principles: that no intoxication, no gambling, no meat eating, and no illicit sex or activities. So this comes under this. Then pranayama and the asana and the pranayama, that means we have to situate ourselves in such a way that Srila Prabhupada always says that, when you chant, sit properly, sit back, sit straight. So that this means this is an asana. This is we sit ourselves properly in order to execute the loving devotional service unto the Supreme, so that it will be perfect. So in order to become perfect in all activities of the devotional service, that this has been established. So this pranayama, again, that to control our breath, and so that we can always with the pure consciousness. That's a understanding. So that's the essence of the pranayama, so that we can become pure conscious. And otherwise, always our consciousness is polluted with so many other things. So that we practice this controlling our senses by controlling our breath. So that if anybody does this pranayama, that some extent it helps that to control all of their bodily and sensual activities. So pranayama is also established. Then dhyana, pratyahara, the next one, pratyahara means controlling. Again, after that, the pranayama, controlling the senses, or whatever we are taking, intake. That means all the urges. Control over all the urges of the senses. So pratyahara, that means ahara means what we intake in order to maintain the body. Then the pratyahara means control that, so that our body and the mind and the senses all will situate in order to perform the loving devotional service to the Supreme Lord. If one person is actually don't care for their all this what they take, eating 4 times a day, it's considered as they are in the mode of ignorance or laziness and the passion, and they cannot come out of it. So it's very difficult to perform loving devotional service if we don't follow these key aspects of the devotional service or the yoga, or how we can unite with or link with the Supreme. Then it comes to the dhyana. That dhyana means that's the time that we can properly meditate upon the Supreme Lord. Dhyana, properly we can meditate on the Supreme Lord. That's a pure dhyana. And then dharana, so that once we have that, then we have the proper understanding of the Supreme. Dharana, proper understanding of the Supreme, proper knowledge. Then we can completely surrender. Samadhi, here samadhi means completely surrender unto the Supreme Lord. So Srila Prabhupada writes in the one of the purport that we should be Krishna conscious. That's why Srila Prabhupada put this name, Krishna consciousness. What does that really mean? Krishna consciousness means we should completely engage our body, mind and sense to the Supreme. So Srila Prabhupada says we should be Krishna conscious 24 hours a day. This is samadhi. This is surrender. This is samadhi. So this yoga process also, Lord Brahma also created this process so that living entities can engage in the loving devotion and come out from this material, conceptions of the life. Then Lord created the vairagya. Vairagya means the acceptance of complete detachment from the material enjoyment in life to elevate oneself to the highest spiritual understanding. See that wonderful definition which is Srila Prabhupada put here, vairagya. Vairagya means detachment. Detachment from these material conceptions of the life, so that we can come out from the material bondage, and then we can understand the higher principle of spiritual understanding. So in the nectar of devotion, it is mentioned that Srila Rupa Goswami, it's very nicely mentioned about anasaktisya vishayan yadarkam upayunchade nirbande krishna sambande yukta vairagya muchade. So when we say like, okay, detachment frames, okay, I will stop everything, I'll leave everything, I'll go to the forest. That is not practical. That won't happen. That will not work. So that kind of detachment is not recommended by our acharyas. So detachment must be there in understanding of how we can detach properly. It's not that, we leave our body, we completely become naked, and then go into the forest, sit there and do nothing, just meditate on something. And then how long you can do that? No, it will not work, especially in this age of Kali. So our acharyas mentioned that we should properly utilize all our aspects of life. So yadarham upayunchide, how we can do that? Anasaktisya vishayan. We should devoid from the vishaya, or this material sensual pleasure activities in this world. So we should relieve from this. We should come out of it. We should detach from all these material sensual activities in this material world and utilize whatever we have. Yadarham upayunchide. Utilize what we have properly for the service of the Supreme. If you have the body, utilize for the service of the Lord. If you have wealth, utilize for the service of the Lord. If you have children, engage them in the service of the Lord. If you have home, engage that in the service of the Lord. This is the proper vairagya, or the detachment, dear devotees, is all that it's not that whatever we have or whatever we don't have, it's all our consciousness, how we utilize it. We know that the Pundarik Vidyanidhi in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Pundarik Vidyanidhi has everything, has such an opulences, but the moment they heard about the Supreme Lord, he completely forgot everything. And everything utilized for the service of the Lord in order to propagate the Krishna consciousness in this world. And we know that Sri Gadadhar Pandit even took the shelter of Sri Pundarik Vidyanidhi and accepted as the spiritual master. So it's not that what we have, but how we utilize all those for the service of the Lord. So this is the Vairagya known as. Then it is known as tapas. Tapas is, or the various kinds of voluntary austerities performed for the spiritual perfection. Austerities, tapa. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, right? Et karoshi, et asnasi, es jagosi dadasiyas, es tapasyasi kaundeya, tat kurusham adarpanam. Whatever the charity, whatever the activities you perform, whatever the charity you give away, whatever that you offer as an, tapa, and as an austerity, as an offering to me. So as an offering to me, as a tapa, as an austerity. So whatever we do, that Krishna should be in the center of the life. So then it can be properly, it is become the perfection. Otherwise we will be entangled, or we will create more attachment and bondage in this material world. So then these four key principles of the knowledge, Lord Brahma then further created and entrusted these key four principles of the knowledge entrusted with the four Kumaras. So these four Kumaras, we know that Sanaka, Sananda, Sanat, Sanatana, and Sananda Kumar. Sanat Kumar, these Chadush Kumaras are the first, first living entity, first creation of the, in the form of a living entity by the Brahma. And then, as we know that they are immediately they born, and they are completely into the understanding, the knowledge of the Supreme Lord. So because of Brahma entrusted and these knowledges with the four Kumaras. And then they were Brahma, they have a complete understanding and realization of the Brahma, or the Brahman, not the Brahma, Brahman, the impersonal aspect of the Supreme. And they are also considered as the empowered incarnations of the knowledge potency. See that all related? They are the empowered incarnations of the knowledge potency. Then Brahma created these four Kumaras with the intention that they would engage in the progeny, in the creations of the progeny, so that they can lead the world with this proper knowledge and understanding. But they denied the fact that they are completely in the Supreme Lord, and they don't want to engage in the material world or the material aspects of this world, because of they are entrusted with this knowledge, so they understand the Supreme. So then the another thing that then we can understand that they further took the vows of the celibacy. So this is also another important fact, that if one took the vows of celibacy, so they have a very supreme power. I mean, it's mentioned that in our scriptures that if one who takes the brahmacharya or the vows of celibacy, they get longevity and they get the power. They get the memory power, which is very powerful. And then finally, even at the minimum level, they attain even the Brahma Loka, the planets of Brahma. One who follows Naishtiga Brahmacharya, or that means one who doesn't waste their semen. So when they practice this one, it goes upwards into the brain, so that they can even travel into the celestial plane. That's what these Kumaras did. So they travel through the space, and even they entered into the Vaikunta, and they could see the Lord face to face by their potency, by their dedication and determination for the Supreme Lord. And so what is this gives us? So that by the process, dear devotees, that from these verses we can understand that the nescience of this world, and how we can come out of this nescience of this world, so that we can also our conditioning life, we can come out from our conditioning life, and attained the Supreme Lord like four Kumaras did, and they saw the Lord face to face. So, like that, each and every conditioned living entity in this world can see the Lord when we accept this process of the word Brahma. Brahma created the four, the Sankhya, the knowledge, and the Vairagya, and the Yoga, the process of linking and you're united with the Supreme, and attachment with the Supreme Lord, and a detachment from this material world. And we take the process of that, the Kumaras that they showed us in the world, that by this process can see the Supreme Lord. So it's so let me stop here. Thank you so much for being there, and Hare Krishna. Thank you. Indira Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol.
Hare Bol.
Simheshwar Prabhu. Okay. Wish you all a safe and Krishna conscious day ahead and week ahead, weekend ahead rather. Some quick announcements. I think on Sunday morning, 9 to 10, we have Nitya Sevini Mataji speaking on our channel. Tomorrow is Krishna must. Krishna is must in our life. But tomorrow we also celebrate Krishna must. Here, they celebrate as Christmas, appearance of Christ, Jesus Christ. Yeah, and Srila Prabhupada mentioned in Science of Self-Realization is mentioning, right, whoever teaches us love of God is our Guru. Right. So, from that angle, we also have appreciation for Jesus Christ. Okay, and then lately we see quite an increasing amount in the pandemic numbers. So we urge you all to have all safety norms followed. And if you're coming to the temple, ensure that you are having a mask. We urge you all like non-essentials travel, limit that non-essential travel. Numbers in New York and New Jersey are quite high. We are reducing our programs, even on temple scale, like New Year's Eve program. Just yesterday, we decided in our management meeting that New Year's Eve program will be completely virtual now. The Japathon on New Year's Day will also be virtual. We will be chanting from home as nicely you all are chanting virtually today. Yeah, so that should be our program. Be safe and Krishna conscious, fully absorbed in the shelter of Lord Krishna. Vaccines, booster shots were not taken. Now, please take. and also increase your immunity by other supplements. Yep. Is there anything else, Krishna Prabhu, or anybody?
Thursday. Thursday is Ekadasi, not Wednesday. Next Thursday,
Yeah.
December 30th, Safala Ekadasi.
Like others. Yep. Okay.